Okay, episode number 34, Prevelations. Okay, so I am Sean with Prevail Strength and Fitness, and today we have a very special guest.
Uh-huh. I'm Tiffany Richey.
Okay, what's
sorry.
the two little letters right before that?
Two little letters?
Right before your name. That's somewhat.
Mister?
I'm not here to whatever. I don't. Whatever you want to claim, I'm not.
Are
here
you
to
talking
judge.
about my credentialing?
Yeah.
Yes, I am a nurse practitioner,
There we
but
go.
technically I'm a certified nurse practitioner,
Okay.
advanced practice registered nurse.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, like, super nurse,
Super
right?
nurse
Super nurse.
on steroids.
There we go. And I think we'll kind of is where does super nurse and then doctor? What's the difference between super nurse and doctor?
So nursing has a little bit different qualifications in education because we had to be RNs before we became advanced practical nurses.
Mhm.
We had to be in the nursing field. We still had to go get our 4-year schooling, a bachelor's of science. We had to have experience in nursing before we could even apply for nurse practitioner, our master's program.
Okay.
Doctors take a different route. They are certified by a different medical body.
Okay.
We are certified by a nursing board.
Okay. And so, I mean, we'll go farther back to where your background is, but the difference between that, because I do think that some people may think there's just the doctor's ultimately the highest level, but it's really not a thing of. It's really the direction that you come from.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes. Now, of course, you ask a medical doctor,
Sure.
they're going to say
yeah,
yes, they're
right.
the highest. And,
Right.
and I would agree to some extent after I've talked to some doctors about their curriculum and, their residency. They spend a lot of time, with the patients, but we just have a different philosophy about medicine. We're more about root-based, how do we help people get to a state of health
Right.
and wellness, whereas, the medicine takes the diagnostic route.
Right. Okay. That's really important to know, because I do think that with all of those credentials, it sounds like the biggest thing that comes from that is a huge amount of experience to get to those credentials.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And we know that from any industry, experience it teaches us the
Right.
most amount of lessons.
Yeah.
For sure.
Life
right.
lessons.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And so then you own
Richey Wellness.
which is
It's a functional medicine clinic. We
Okay.
do some aesthetics on the side.
Mhm.
But my passion, where I hold the ground in the clinic, is functional medicine, which is root-based medicine.
what does that mean?
So instead of clustering symptoms to find a diagnosis like multiple sclerosis or cancer, even heart disease, we're looking for the whys of how they got those symptoms to begin with. So
Okay.
kind of work backwards from the diagnosis instead of diagnosis and then treating the symptoms.
Okay. Right. So it's a little more I wouldn't say proactive than reactive.
Yes, absolutely.
But that's kind of the idea.
Yes,
It's
absolutely it
I'm
is.
really wanting to figure out how did we get to this point, and then look at a solution. Not here's the problem, here's the solution.
Right.
Right. It's
And,
taking
and really there is no solution in that formulation anyway.
right. Here's the next best
Because
step.
we're Band-Aiding.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Okay. And then what is and how long you been doing that?
10 years.
Okay. 10 years. And what was before the 10 years?
10 years before that I was an ICU nurse.
Okay. Ooh,
Mhm.
intense.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. So you saw the worst of the worst. How do we prevent people from getting to the worst of the worst?
Yeah. That's
And give them better quality of life.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
don't ever want to see anyone in
No.
ICU.
No.
Don't even
No.
really want to see anyone in the hospital.
No.
Which is more about, I think, when we look at the health spectrum,
Mhm.
when the wellness comes in, there's I think there's this idea of you're either in the hospital or you're healthy from a traditional mindset, which is different than, well, there's actually dead
right.
in the hospital, can't leave. You're kind of in and out of the hospital. But then there's not really healthy, but not sick, but not healthy.
Right.
Just because I'm not in the hospital doesn't mean I'm healthy.
Absolutely.
Right. And then that's where health, and I would think if you were to put wellness, health, and then sickness, they kind of go in that order, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think wellness is after being healthy, or the one and the same?
I would say one and the same, but I do think it's a spectrum.
Right.
Is kind of what you're getting at. Is
Yeah,
that
right.
there's like a wellness end to it to an unhealthy, death.
Right. And then you can kind of put wellness into a little bit of like above bare minimum as health.
Sure.
So if you have certain markers or certain standards that this is healthy, well, the next step up would be like, well, now you're wellness. And then after that is fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And then after fitness is, I guess, professional athletics or something after that. Right?
Optimal performance, maybe.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then who's the most average type of person you work with at the clinic?
Oh gosh, I don't think there is an average.
Okay, interesting.
I think the people who want to come to me through verbal referrals, because that's usually what I have, that's how I built my practice, are the people who know that something's not quite right.
Okay.
They don't feel as well as they did when they were in their 20s maybe, and they want to improve their quality of life.
Okay.
But I see people who are optimal performers that just want more information and want to be guided by a professional,
right?
All the way to people who maybe are on the verge of going into the hospital or developing a chronic disease, who have seen multiple doctors and want to avoid being on multiple medications.
Okay, and those type of people are the people that are having less than optimal, like the way they're living life isn't right. It's not what they want it to be, right? They're like, I don't think I'm healthy because this is off, I can't do this, I have limitations in this, or whatever the main problem is, which is different than a person who's like, I'm doing pretty good, but I would really like to be better, right?
Right.
So you serve a lot of different types of people. It's definitely not just a wellness clinic is like, I'm healthy and I want to be healthier.
Yes.
Right.
And I like seeing those people. I like seeing the people who are already motivated to get in.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, at the studio, we have that same range where like half the people are currently exercising and they want the next best version of exercise. But there's another half of our people that come in who aren't exercising and they just want a way to start exercising.
Absolutely.
And both those camps have, there's not like one that's better than the other.
No, it's a
one,
benefit.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just where you are on your, kind of like where you are on your timeline of your health.
Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, if you have someone who has more room for improvement, it's exciting to see them go from nothing to here. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And then with that, the topic we want to get into, at least for just today, is the big wild world of hormones, right? Because I think that is probably now, I would say now it's a more common language than ever before.
Sure.
But it's probably the most now misunderstood language ever than before.
100%.
Either, right?
Yeah.
And I think we'll kind of go, we have a lot of conversations about menopause. And I know that menopause is the newest, menopause is not new, but the research and the treatment of menopause is the newest version of hormone therapy compared to other versions of hormone therapy, right? When you think like the male testosterone replacement, that's been around for a long time, and it's somewhat normalized now. And do you think that the woman's side is as normalized as the man's side when it comes to hormone replacement therapy?
I think it's just as confusing as everything else we've been talking about.
Okay.
I think it depends on the doctor that you talk to, or patient that you talk to, because there are still doctors out there that believe testosterone causes prostate cancer. There are still gynecologists out there who I don't believe know that much about hormones and are anti-hormone replacement therapy. So I have to educate every single patient that comes through.
Yeah.
And it's my opinion, right? I take the science and I interpret it as to what I believe is the best for the patient. But like you said, I have 10 years of experience of doing this and seeing what works the best.
Right. Yeah. And the cancer thing with a lot of the like testosterone stuff, some of that is coming from science, but when you really dig into that science, it's really not the risk versus reward is nowhere near as high as everyone thinks it is with the risks of cancer.
Right. And the cellular biology doesn't prove that it is causing the cancer, just like breast cancer, and estrogen.
Right.
There's so many mechanisms that can function that leads to the cancer itself.
Yeah, there's with most things, especially hormones, there's just such a lack of context.
It's in a vacuum is what they're trying to do. They're trying to put it into a vacuum and blame something. And testosterone a lot of the time gets blamed, as is estrogen with breast cancer.
Right. Yeah, and all the hormones are pretty awesome.
All of them are.
Right.
Yeah.
There's not like a villain of hormones.
No.
Yeah, they all are really awesome. They all have very specific jobs to play, and they all have a very, I think another piece, and you can talk more about this from the menopause side, but I think what's misunderstood is that the difference between a male and a female is a specific balance of all the hormones.
Exactly.
It's about the ratio of them, not one being good or bad.
Right.
Right?
Right. You can have too much or not enough of all of them.
Right. If we dive into perimenopause, menopause, post-menopause, is that what it is?
No,
is it post or is it just
there's premenopause, perimenopause, and menopause.
Okay.
So when people, it's a little confusing, but people say, well, when I get through menopause, or how long will I be in menopause? Once you're in menopause, you are in menopause, regardless of how you got there, whether it be a surgical menopause, so you had a surgery and had your ovaries removed, or you have been 365 days without a period.
Whoa. Okay, I didn't know that.
Day 366 is considered
and then
menopause.
That is your new state of balance. Your body's saying very well, this is how we are going to operate as this system from now on.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now there's exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, that's the definition.
Okay. Okay. And then with hormones, what is the what part of the ratio of hormones changes once we have premenopause or peri? Is there a difference between the two? Or is it like a staged thing of intensity?
It's a staged thing. So premenopause is when you're still fertile.
Okay.
Right? So your body is making progesterone, testosterone, and estrogen, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, and they're going through a circadian rhythm or a rhythm, menstrual rhythm, every month, every 28 days.
Tracking, yes.
When you get to perimenopause, things become wonky, right? You're running out of eggs. Your body's not really sure what to do with it. It's trying to get rid of them. So the hormones start to decline. And it's usually pretty predictable. We tend to lose testosterone, or testosterone starts to decline. And then we lose our progesterone, and then we lose our estrogen. Once we've released all those eggs, that's when we stop cycling, because there's nothing left to fertilize.
Right. There's no more, nothing to kick the cycle back over again.
And then it's done. And then once you're done with that, then there's no reason biologically for creating new humans. So you're lost. And it's kind of frustrating and sad. And I told my husband this. I was like, so basically once we're no longer good at making babies,
you're just pointless.
Our hormones are pointless and our quality of life goes down.
And
what's interesting about the hormones, and a lot of people don't know, and I think to your point, is that they're so important for quality of life and just life in general, because your risk for all-cause mortality goes way up once you lose those hormones.
Right.
So technically, you're at risk for death.
Right. And then once we're in perimenopause, or of the three, correct me wrong, but is estrogen the one that takes the biggest hit?
Initially, no.
Okay.
It's usually the last one to go.
But as a intensity, like in a ratio of those three, estrogen leads the way for the female body for the most part of their life.
Yeah. Progesterone and estrogen.
Right. And of those two, are they in an equal ratio? I know they cycle differently every 30 to 40 days.
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say yes, they're equally important.
Okay.
Now, some doctors would disagree, because once you go through menopause and you're going to do hormone replacement therapy, the rule of thumb is if you don't have a uterus, you don't need progesterone. So, but I disagree with that. I think there are so many benefits to replacing both of the hormones, because progesterone helps. We call it nature's Xanax. It helps with sleep. It helps with anxiety. It can help function with metabolism.
Right.
It helps with hair. Women start losing their hair after perimenopause, menopause, and progesterone's to thank for that.
Right.
That's why women, when they're pregnant, have a beautiful head of hair because of the progesterone.
Yeah. Okay. Is so testosterone for the female body kind of takes a back seat to those two
Absolutely.
for all of life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then we get into menopause. It's still kind of taking a back seat to the other two.
100%.
Right? Now, of all three, I know they come on in stages, but with an intensity of drop, do they all drop the same intensity eventually? So do they come in?
No, not necessarily, because testosterone can be made outside the ovary. You know, our adrenal glands will make testosterone. So women who are in menopause, even though the ovaries aren't functioning, can still make a little bit of testosterone.
Okay.
Is it going to be enough to feel amazing? Probably not.
Right.
Some women make more than others. I
Right.
think that's maybe
Right.
a genetic predisposition.
Right.
Probably diet and lifestyle things as well,
Right.
stress. But no, it's going to decline, but maybe not go to zero.
Okay. And do any of them go to zero?
Estrogen and progesterone do.
Okay. So the drop in the main drivers is more intense than the backseat driver of testosterone.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. But the two between estrogen and progesterone, I always jack that word up. Those can vary in intensity, which is going to be highly person dependent.
Yep.
Right? And I would imagine, just like a lot of other things, everyone's ratios of those three things is different, female to female to female to female to female anyways.
It's very unique.
And then when menopause sets in, it's not setting in the same way. Because not only is it aren't the ratios, the numbers are changing, but the numbers are changing per person, which is also changing per person because their baseline is different.
Correct.
Which would make this is why it's so difficult.
It's so complicated.
Right. Because you can't just say, well, here's the recipe to fix it.
100%.
Because everyone's baseline is different, and then everyone's effect of menopause is also different per person.
100%.
Right. So some people could have, someone could have a ton of a huge drop in energy and brain fog, and that's the only thing that happens. But someone else may have a ton of, I don't know, migraines or hair loss or, I guess it would be muscle loss or fat gain, right? Now, the hormones, with the big one out of the gate, which I'm sure you see the most out of, is what has happened to the mirror with my body. I was doing a certain amount of things.
Yeah,
all
it's
of a sudden,
usually the abdominal weight gain.
Okay. And why is it abdominal weight gain?
There's two reasons, and this is very complicated. Usually it's due to estrogen more than anything, because estrogen signals a lot of insulin. And so when you've got insulin resistance, lowered insulin sensitivity, then fat is going to be deposited around the visceral versus subcutaneous. So that's when women are like, something's happening. I've never had belly fat.
Right.
The other hormone that's highly responsible for that is cortisol.
Right.
And estrogen also helps control cortisol, as does testosterone.
Okay. And we won't dive into the cortisol.
I know
cortisol
that I could go on all day.
That's a whole other hour about why cortisol is getting such a villain, which is not true.
Correct.
I mean, there's nothing that's like A and B, but
No.
the vast majority of people who are blaming cortisol don't understand the role of cortisol.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Okay. We'll stay away from that hot topic.
That's like saying
that
insulin
button.
Is bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk to someone with diabetes. And you're like, well.
Yeah, I kind of would like a little bit more of that.
Seems like that would be important to have right now. Yeah. So if you take the testosterone and progesterone are dropping the biggest intense, and when it comes to the effect that has on, if we think about wellness and then health and then fitness after that, right? We want to figure out, is it the lifestyle change separately that will change those hormones, or is there a need to bring in something to increase those hormones?
Both.
Both, because they can both have an effect on
You have to
each other.
foundationally have good diet, good lifestyle, movement, stress, sleep.
Okay. If you were to, and what is good?
Good. in which part?
Okay, so if you say, and if someone's going through a checklist of okay, at what stage do I need to reach out to Tiffany to look into where my numbers are, and if I need something to artificially increase these numbers, what are the things prior to that that need to be in place?
Okay.
or do they? Or can you do them at the same time?
Let's say someone is exercising. Their strength training, their cardio is on point. Maybe not like going out and running 8 miles, but getting in 5 to 10,000 steps a day.
Okay.
They're eating healthy. Now that's another whole nother podcast, what healthy is, but they're in a calorie deficit. I know you like that term, but let's say their macros are also balanced and nothing's moving.
Okay. And so they have a consistent exercise and nutrition routine that isn't wildly perfect in a sense of like, oh, I'm doing exactly 7 hours of this and I'm getting exactly macros of that. We're talking like you're hitting like 3 to 5 hours of exercise a week. Your nutrition is like 90% there.
Okay.
That's what we mean by baseline.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Foundational health. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Then it's like, okay, things still aren't moving. Do you crank harder into the nutrition and exercise, or is that when you're like, well, what else is going on that the results aren't changing because of that, right? That's when we want to come in and like check numbers.
Yeah. And I think everybody should. I think everybody should be checking their numbers.
When?
Anytime. Like, I think every human should know what their cholesterol is. I think they should know what their nutritional balance is, what's your vitamin D, what's your B12.
Okay. And at what age and what frequency?
Man, I have kids in my practice as young as 14.
Whoa. Okay.
Probably even younger, but that's not my typical.
Okay. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. But their signaling is usually off. You know, like they're coming to me because they're having hormonal symptoms other than adipose fat. You know, so they're seeing irregular menstruation, they're having acne, they're having other issues.
Okay.
But for the average adult, I think is what you're asking me is, I think I would just come in if you want to improve anything about your health.
Okay. And improve in what frequency? Is this like a once every, like kind of like a doctor's visit, like once a year, every 5 years, once a quarter?
No, when people come to see me, so let's say you came in and made an appointment, we would run your labs, we'd get consultation on everything, not just what are your hormone concerns, but everything else. And then depending on what your lab said, so let's say you're on that spectrum and you're pretty good, but we just have some fine tuning of your hormones.
Right.
Then if we're replacing hormones or you're making some interventional changes, then we'll probably check your labs every 3 to 6 months until you feel balanced or you feel the best you feel like you can feel.
Okay.
From then on out, once a year.
Okay. So once things stabilize, the annual 1X is kind of like a hold on to maintenance.
Sure.
Out of the gate, the intensity ramps up because we kind of have to it's kind of a learning curve.
Right.
Of like, well, we need to have more feedback, more data to make
and
adjustments along the way.
I'm a data-driven person.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. We definitely understand that. Okay. So now we have the data, and if it comes to, I think one piece of hormones in any person, especially in menopause, is it the reason I'm not losing weight or gaining muscle?
It could be.
Okay.
Yeah, it could be.
Is it not the reason? I'll try to say this right. Nutrition and exercise and the habits of stress and sleep, those principles of how they affect the body don't change once we're into these hormonal issues. The effect of those things change. So if you take the typical energy in, energy out for pure fat loss, right?
Okay.
We'll take away all the like ideas of inflammation and water weight and all those things, right? We know that we have to upset the equation in order for our body to take tissue and get rid of that tissue through its breath, right? That's metabolized.
Sure.
That principle does not change because I'm in menopause.
Yes.
It does change.
It does change.
What part of it?
Estrogen affects metabolism.
Okay, but the principle does not change. The principle of the balance still has to be disrupted.
Correct.
Right?
But yes, but the scale changes a little bit. Estrogen can tip the scale because estrogen, like I said, is important for insulin signaling.
So if you think about a seesaw of energy in, energy out,
right,
and then you think that principle no matter what, is constant. The ground in which that seesaw sits, huge variable. Because if hormones are off, that seesaw doesn't have anything to energy out. It can never find a way to go into the path that it wants to go into of like, oh, I understand that my energy out is upset now consistently. Because if the hormone is constantly shaking up that foundation, your body has a very, very hard time of going, oh, I understand what you're trying to do as a stimulus, right? Okay, so we could be consistently hitting an energy balance deficit or surplus, I guess it was muscle gain or body composition, you know, what's it called when body composition is partitioning of calories. The hormones could be disrupting that equation every day.
Yeah.
Weekly, monthly, daily, right? And if you take into the effect of sleep and stress, or is the sleep and stress creating the difference in hormone ratio, or the hormone ratio decreasing the quality of sleep and stress?
I think both.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
But, you know, if you're going to say which has a stronger impact, I think the sleep and stress impacts the hormones. Probably.
Okay.
Well, I don't know.
Tough.
I could make an argument both ways.
And I think that's the point.
Yeah.
I think that's the point, is that if I'm like, man, I'm having a really, really hard time catching up on my sleep.
Right.
For whatever reasons, right? And if that reason is because my hormones, wherever they are, something is not right, you can change the hormones, and that will affect the quality of sleep. Will then ramp up the quality of the hormones again, and they continue to compound.
Right.
So sometimes hormones can interject and can kind of like speed up that like recovery, that ability to get back into. Because you could say forever, you could say,
you're saying replacement in the positive.
I'm
like
saying
if you're in menopause and you're needing the hormone replacement, it can traject you in the positive direction.
Exactly.
I was thinking you were asking the question opposite. Okay.
Well, yeah, and I think some people, they want to know whether or not, like, well, do you just keep battling on affecting your sleep through whatever things? You take this supplement, or you take this and you take that, and you're like, I can never get on top of my sleep. Well, you're like, well, it might be something else going on.
Absolutely.
But if you take the same person who comes in and you're like, hey, we're going to put you onto this appropriate ratio of hormones to get you feeling better. And they're like, yeah, but my sleep is still shit. And you're like, oh, but are you still eating 100 grams of sugar before you go to bed?
Sure.
Or are you still inconsistently going to bed at different times? Or are you like, you know, dumping caffeine into your body before you go into bed?
Yeah. So there's other variables.
Right. And both of them have to be kind of talked to at the same time. I would imagine that you have people that come in and they're looking for HRT or looking for a supplement routine, and they're not changing anything else, and they're blaming the lack of results on the hormone.
100%. That's why I said you have to have that foundational before you can even really talk about.
Right.
I mean, at least they're making an attempt. Like you said, if their sleep is disrupted because they have no progesterone, I mean, they can try as hard as they can to sleep, but it's not going to work. But is their diet and the lifestyles, things that are in their control, being properly addressed?
Yeah. So it's definitely not a nutrition, exercise versus hormones. Right. It's a hormones and nutrition and exercise and sleep.
Yes.
All at the same time, and you're just figuring out which of the ones can I manipulate to get me closer and closer to my goal.
Absolutely. And giving people little wins, you know, like trying progesterone. Because I have like we were saying earlier, patients believe some of the bad data and misconceptions about hormones, and so they're a little bit nervous. So if I can just give them a little bit of trial of it, and they see the benefit, they drink the Kool-Aid, if you will. Right. But yeah, you're exactly right. Okay. They kind of have to be all in.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And we're back.
Break, and we're back. Oh, okay. So we have another 29 minutes.
Okay, good.
Basically, right. Okay. All right. Now we kind of have that. Neither one, when it comes to the fat loss, weight loss person, it's if if we're inconsistently applying the principles of nutrition and exercise, can we continue to blame hormones?
We can.
Okay. If we're inconsistent with our nutrition and exercise, right, can we still blame hormones?
Yes. You
Okay.
can still blame hormones, but you're not really sure if it's just the hormones or
Gotcha.
if it's hormones, diet, and exercise.
Okay. So let's just say that we are we're fairly inconsistent with our process within exercise and nutrition. Maybe exercise is pretty predictable. Nutrition is like 4 to 7 days predictable. And we're like, I'm just not really seeing the results. And like, I think it's my hormones, right? So someone from my end of the world who does not prescribe hormones would say, well, make your 4 days to 7 days.
Sure, add more, do more.
And do more consistency. Right, so let's do, instead of 4 days of tracking food, let's do 7 days of tracking food.
Okay.
And then let's see what's happening, right? Now, that same person, if they say, yeah, but my hormones, okay, hormones then potentially can be, but how would we know?
You'd have to test.
You'd have to test.
Yeah.
Right, okay. So then we're like, instead of going back and forth on like blaming one of the things, well, my nutrition isn't working for me, or this exercise program isn't working for me, or the hormones aren't they're not working for me. You have to have some sort of data to really go, right? Because you can't say, what's my hormones, and then you have no idea what your blood work is.
Right. I mean, there are some physical symptoms that they could be looking for, but most of the time, you want to still get the data.
You're saying the physical symptoms that hormones are definitely in play, but they're responsible.
Because they're imbalanced.
Right. And then we look to, I want to make progress. That's when you have to have an intervention of.
Sure.
You have to say, okay, well, we have the information that, yes, you had these symptoms, right? Okay, we got some blood work back, and like, you know what? You're 100% right. Those symptoms make sense because this number and this number is way off, right? Let's fix this number and this number by X, Y, Z, right? Whatever that is. And then you go, now let's go back and look at this process of our nutrition and exercise. Does that affect our results? Yes, no. And you're like, yes, it does. Like, you know what? These numbers changed, and I started seeing improvements where I wanted to because of this process of nutrition and exercise, right? With that being said, if someone is in menopause, is there any actual changes to how the body wants to lose fat and gain muscle because of menopause?
Yeah.
Do those supersede the normal training principles of exercise though? If you think of like, in order to gain muscle, you must be at calorie maintenance or surplus and have enough stimulus to tear down muscle to build muscle,
right? And
have enough protein, right? Us being in menopause, does it change that principle, or does it just affect it?
It doesn't change the principle, but it affects how fat metabolism occurs.
Okay.
Because it changes insulin.
Okay.
And insulin is the signal that changes where glucose goes into the body. Does it become glycogen,
right,
or does it get stored as fat?
Right.
And when you don't have estrogen telling insulin what to do, then you are going to store more fat.
Right. Okay. It really means, this sounds awful to say, but basically the principles stay the same. It just gets way harder.
It gets harder because if you're not working out and you're not pushing muscle growth, then you are going to retain more fat.
Right.
Right? If you add estrogen, you can kind of regress to what your body was doing prior to menopause.
Got it. Okay.
So it does affect it for sure, but like you said, the principle kind of stays the same.
Well, I think that some people like, is there let's see how to say, like, would a macro balance change considerably because we're in menopause? So the ratio of protein, fats, carbs, which if you look at if we know the science behind how it works, if protein is equal, the ratio of carbs and fats are irrelevant once we're in a calorie deficit for the body to change its energy.
Not necessarily, because not enough fat, too much fat can change the signaling of the hormones.
Okay. But if we take the principle of like we know in a healthy individual,
Okay.
I'm gonna say that first.
Okay.
In a healthy individual,
Sure. Okay.
in a healthy
Okay.
individual, that
Yes.
principle is if
Yes.
protein is equalized, the
Mhm.
ratio of carbs and fat one is not better than the other one in order to change results.
As long as you're not in a surplus.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, saying that, once we are in, so basically someone could go high to moderate protein, low carb, high fat, or high fat, high carb, low fat, or a middle balance between the two. No matter what, if those 3 macros are in a deficit, the body will change.
Sure.
Right?
100%.
In menopause, is there anything saying that ratio must change? So I hear some people think that carbs become the devil, the evil thing, because of menopause.
Well, technically, if you're thinking yes, because if it controls insulin and where insulin is telling the glucose to go, obviously, yes, you would want to do less carbs.
Right.
Because you'd want less glucose in your body, and you would want your body to feed off the fat, right? So like a ketogenic mentality.
Right.
But
that's not saying that ketogenic diets are great for menopause people.
No, that's not what I'm saying at
Perfect.
all. But
just
it's just an analogy, if you will, a parallel.
Good. So it's not saying that a low carb diet is great for menopausal women. Right? That would be the wrong statement.
But if you were wanting to tweak your macros to support menopause, you would want to probably decrease your carbohydrates a little bit.
Okay. So that would be part of testing a process. And you're like, okay, I normally eat, I'm going to make a bunch of numbers, 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 50 grams of fat. And I've lost weight doing that. I'm now in menopause. And for whatever reason, like it's just not working the same anymore. Outside of the total number being changed, which is a whole bunch of other variables with metabolism and energy output, one effective route may be testing the ratio of carbs to fat because of the insulin sensitivity is different.
Right, and everybody's insulin resistance is different too. Right. So you add that component, it just becomes one layer more complicated.
So people who are also insulin resistant, regardless of menopause, may also they may feel better going into a lower carbohydrate process to see how their body responds.
Absolutely.
Because their sensitivity to the carbs is, well, technically they don't have a sensitivity, right?
They're
resistant to response to.
Their sensitivity is lowered.
Right. And when we say that, we also, again, I just want to make sure that people aren't saying like, oh, well, low carb diets work for menopause, and that's what I really want to get across to people is that when you're looking at these headlines of these like blanket statements,
it's terrible to make a blanket statement about anything.
Right. It's more like, hey, trying a lower carbohydrate diet for the next 6 weeks and having data to support it, you may learn that your body now would rather utilize a bunch of healthy fats as opposed to it used to utilize a whole bunch of grains and carbs and starches previously. Right?
Correct.
Okay, good. But really, it's no matter what, that the nutrition and exercise component don't change as we age when it comes to becoming the benefits of those two things and making change.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, good. I may repeat this like 19 times.
No, I'm with you. I want to make sure I'm following you.
And it's once those things are consistent, right? And then there's other symptoms. What would be if someone is getting into that age of pre and perimenopause? What are the most common symptoms to look out for that you're like, ooh, you should probably get your numbers checked?
Usually the first symptoms I see in patients are trouble sleeping, and then maybe some increased anxiety or mood dysregulation that they weren't.
Okay. And trouble sleeping how?
Waking.
So
in the night,
more wake events
more
than
waking,
normal?
like getting up 2 or 3 times to pee. Or I'm having trouble falling asleep. I've always been a good sleeper. I'm not sleeping as deeply. I'm not waking up feeling rested. And then anxiety. That's a big one. For me, personal anecdote, paranoia. Like, is that person mad at me? They just looked at me weird. And that's not me. I'm usually like, oh, they were distracted. I could always make excuses. But now it's like, oh, I think they're mad. Should I talk to them? And then having that weird self-talk.
Intrusive
thoughts. And not everybody experiences that. Everybody has different things. You know, some people may have night sweats or hot flashes or changes in sexual desire, you know, whatnot. But
interesting. Okay.
And like you said, body composition changes.
Okay.
You know, I'm working hard and something's just not right. Energy levels, brain fog.
Okay. So lots of things.
Lots of things.
Lots of things happen when this stuff kind of gets on and set on.
And everybody will chalk it up to aging. Oh, I'm just getting older. I even had a 29-year-old patient the other day say, well, I'm going to be 30 this year. You know, I am getting older.
As a reference,
yeah,
neither one of us, both of us are past our 30s. So that sounds crazy.
Closer to 50 than 40. Yeah.
Right. You're like, oh, okay. All right.
Sure,
actually,
dude. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the 30s were like my best years ever.
I feel better today, 47, than I have my entire life.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's because of your age.
Has there been? So you've in 10 years of practice, have you seen the average age of someone coming in with from the male and female side from menopause or from low testosterone change?
It's getting sooner and sooner.
Interesting.
So it used to be maybe late 30s to early 40s, that kind of 5-year span, and now it's earlier.
Interesting.
Like 32 to 36, we're seeing more and more of that
Interesting.
age, especially the men.
More dramatic in the men. Yeah. I have lots of theories why.
Oh, I do too.
Ton of theories. I think that you have the environment that's going into your system, and the environment your system is in is wildly different than ever before.
Toxic.
Yeah, there's just the amount of things we're consuming from like plastics and there's a lot of reasons that like our internal self is changing. Healthy microbiome from different gut bacteria is definitely all over the place, but then the external environment from the amount of time outside has changed wildly. The amount of steps has changed wildly. The amount of anxiety driven from technology has driven is
social,
crazy. Not only with technology, but then COVID, I think these are also been a huge change in the amount of social interaction for people that is playing into all of these issues of the hormones
and
just
those
getting
poor
jacked
kids
up.
that started their life in COVID. I just don't even know what their future looks like.
Being in like that pivotal 15 to 16, 14
My
range
son's
of
right
1 year, and how it was a wild part of like your social development was just pause button. Here you go. Don't worry about that
Don't
anymore.
Touch anybody. Don't talk to anybody. Don't see
have
anybody.
any interactions you are supposed to or not supposed to be having anymore. It teaches all those great lessons.
And I'm glad you bring that up, because social interaction and stress is, I think, one of the biggest killers in the United States. I can't speak for other countries. But it's wildly underdiagnosed and dismissed because, I mean, the Ross shirt, it's fine. I'm fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine.
Right,
you know?
Right.
And so we minimize it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, okay. That's interesting, because when you said everyone should be getting their numbers checked, part of that is like, I think most people think, I really don't think I need to until I'm like retired.
Right.
You know, like when people think like, oh, I'm in my 60s, numbers are going to change. Maybe I should get some like hormones looked at. And you're like, really? Like this should happen mainly, I think, because of our external environment. These numbers need to be checked in on even earlier than ever before.
Absolutely.
Because they're affecting us even faster than ever before any time in history.
I think, over time we've developed all these technologies and advanced medical practices that we were trying to live longer. And we saw in the 80s, that we saw longer lifespans. And I think what we're going to see is shorter lifespans over the years. And it is the trajectory is on point with that. But I think people, because they're not really in the know, they're not really looking at the statistics, they're just seeing all the new drugs come out.
Right.
They're being bamboozled by all the crap that's put out there. They don't realize what's happening.
Right.
They're not paying attention.
Yeah.
But they're also not listening to their own bodies.
Right. The awareness of self has changed quite a bit.
Absolutely.
Because there's so much external distractions of like, well, why do I need to think about what I feel like when I can just like dump my brain and all these things will help
and
me
it's
feel a
simple
different
cause
way.
and effect.
Yeah.
Simple. But
Right.
they come to me to help them figure it out, which I'm appreciative of. But at the same time,
People,
you know, it's amazing when they're like, you know what I did? I ate this food and it made me feel bad. And I was like, really? Tell me more about this. Yeah. You know, so I'm like, good for you.
Bad foods. Oof. That's another very deep, interesting idea too. Okay, I don't think there's anything else that we'll wrap this up into inside of your practice, people that you are already helping them with hormones, and how else do you do anything beyond just hormone replacement to help people in the clinic?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Like what?
We do nutritional supplements, you know, like, are you nutritional deficient in anything?
So blood work comes back. You're like, dude, your vitamin D is wild. Here's
which most people are.
Most people are. Yeah.
So, you know, we replenish and replace that. I do try to offer nutritional support for that. Like, can you get this from food? You know, like when people are iron deficient, here's some foods that are high in iron.
Okay.
I do recommend exercise. I do not do exercise plans. You know me. That's why I come here. So you can tell me what to do.
Right.
But I do recommend that they get out, that they do their steps, that they get the sunshine, that they get all of that. We do sexual wellness. You know, some people really struggle with sensitivities and things like that. What else? Thyroid replacement. That's big. That's a whole nother episode for you as well.
Yeah. To be clear, the thyroid hormones, everything's connected, but those are two different systems.
The endocrine system is all the same.
Right.
All the hormones play together like one big spider web.
Right.
So, yes, it's a different system in the sense that it's a different gland that produces a different hormone. But does the thyroid affect the sex hormones? Absolutely, it does.
Right.
And cortisol, stress, as you were saying earlier, affects the thyroid, affects the hormones.
Right.
So everything's affected, but you can address them separately, but you would be dismissive if you tried to put it once again in a vacuum. Yeah.
Which kind of gets back to like the whole point of having a holistic approach is to look at the whole process, because we really want to look at how things are playing with each other to go forward with that. And then, so what would be anyone from your audience that's doing all those things? What is something that they would love to learn about health and from fitness and conditioning and nutrition from us?
From you, Prevail.
Yeah. What do you, if someone's listening right now and they're one of your people, what do you think is something as a common question or common ask?
About specific. Give me more specifics.
Let's talk about exercise.
Exercise?
Do you have a common exercise question that comes from a lot of your people?
Probably, yes. So a lot of my people are like, well, what is movement?
Okay, that's a good one.
They don't even know what movement is.
That's good.
And a lot of people, and I try to say this to every single patient, is that muscle mass equals longevity. It is the best indicator of longevity. And while I'm out running with my dogs, or I'm walking every single day, I walk 2 miles every night with my husband, or I'm like, I love that you're doing that, because I want to give them their pat on the back, because I think their brain is in the right spot, but you need to be controlling those movements. You need to be working on the muscle strength. Your bones depend on it. Your brain depends on it. Your muscles depend on it. Your life depends on it.
Yeah. So if you're coming from Tiffany's world and she's saying those things and you're like, okay, what does that mean? Real quick, I'll kind of break down the differences.
Please do.
Very fast. Think about the conditioning side from heart, lungs. Think I have zone 0 to zone 5. Zone 0 being sitting, right? And zone 1, walking with the dogs, daily movement, chores, right? Essential. Zone 2, that's when we get into most people's typical jogging type of thing. And then you get into the 3, 4, 5, and that's where the high intensity and intention, out of breath, can't talk part of exercise comes in. And really what you would think about is like, I want to spend, if I'm doing zone 1 a bunch, I need to do some zone 2. I'm doing a bunch of zone 2, I need to do some zone 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing a whole bunch of zone 5 and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing any walking zone 0, 1, 2,
Mm-hmm.
I need to do more of that. And if you think about a ratio of those things, you want kind of like a 1-to-1 ratio as a beginning standpoint, right? I need to be doing good zone 1 work at high frequency, zone 2 at a lower frequency, and then the zone 3, 4, 5 at a lower frequency. But I should see one of them at least once a week, if not a ratio of those every 2 weeks.
Okay.
And I think the next step is put all of that into one bucket and then flip gears to the other bucket is getting stronger building muscle. And they're not the same thing.
No.
Right? And then think, okay, the other side of it is, can I spend 2 to 4 hours a week measurably getting stronger? And if I can measurably get stronger, most likely my muscle mass will hold or maintain or gain if I can see that I'm getting measurably stronger with exercise. However you want to measure your exercise by yourself, with a trainer, or with a system. I can do 8 push-ups and now I can do 15 push-ups.
Right.
You're measurably getting stronger. That's a good sign that muscle mass is also holding or increasing when you're looking at strength training.
So let's say you have someone who's pretty active. Is there a stopping point? Like, not like I'm done with exercise, but hey, I've got to be okay with.
I think there's not a
measurable improvements.
There's 2 parts to this. Technically, you can always go farther forward in one path, but there comes to a point in capacity where there's not enough bandwidth to do every path. So if you think about the most amount of conditioning I can do, I can only get so fast in marathons before everything else has to hold at a maintenance with my strength. I can do 100-pound deadlift, whatever it is, right? Well, I can't say I want, there's the upper threshold is you could get to 1,000-pound deadlift, but you're not running a marathon at any fast time, right? So a lot of this goes back and forth, but I think the most important part is once you get to an upper threshold of movement competency through strength and conditioning, every year that maintains, you're winning because you're actually dying every year and everything's slowing down. So maintaining a high level of strength year after year after year is actually progressing because you didn't do any of those inputs. All of the strength and conditioning would go even faster because basically after 35, our bodies are dying.
Right, and we're losing it.
Everything is going downhill. So even holding as we age is winning. And then after that, you have the ability to progress. You have the ability to make progressions in muscle mass and strength well into your 70s and 80s. There's still the principles of getting stronger and building muscle mass are still there. They don't stop. The rate of progress changes, but it's completely possible at any given time.
That's good. That's encouraging.
Yeah, you can start anytime you want and still see progress. Okay, and then, we're that side. My side would be your people, okay? Our people in the Prevail. You are one of the Prevail people.
I am a Prevailan.
Once exercise and nutrition, when it comes to body composition, once they are 70 to 80% consistent and normal, you start to see these other symptoms. Get blood work done. Right?
I don't think it's bad for anybody to start right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sometimes it gives them a good baseline.
If someone is frustrated with their progress, let's just get the blood work done.
Absolutely.
Let's just get it done because if anything, you want to clear it from the process. So it's either going to be really...
And everything looks great.
Everything looks great.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then you go, oh, okay, well, I need to go back to my other steps and go, well, what
am I doing wrong?
What's something over there that's missing? What's something I can manipulate? But if you go back over to your side and you're like, dude, this one number's like, we got some work to do.
Yeah.
And you implement that work and all the results from their side instantly should get better as well, right? Okay. I think that's...
I love that.
I think that's really about it. I think we had a lot of questions about menopause.
Okay. Anything specific?
Well,
that we didn't cover?
No, we kind of went over like the weight gain in the middle of it. But I think what the point is, menopause disrupts big, huge players in your body. Principles of exercise, nutrition, body composition remain the same.
You should still be doing just as hard of work.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. However, the ground in which you can't blame menopause for a gigantic inconsistency in that process. It doesn't change, right? But it can be the reason you're inconsistent.
Yeah, I mean, I
Right?
don't. I mean, I would say yes and no. I mean, I think it affects metabolism in general. So even when you're putting forth your best effort, could you still put on the visceral fat? Yes, you still could.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know that I'm understanding the question, but
I'm just saying like that. You can still apply all the normal principles of nutrition and exercise when it comes to fat loss and still see results in any stage.
Yeah.
Menopause isn't going to change those principles. It's going to change what it's really going to do. It's going to change the rate of those results.
It is, and it may be so much that the person feels like it's out of control.
Exactly. Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's really about it. I think everything else was kind of like, should you fast to help menopause?
I mean, you can fast to do a metabolic reset, but
again, all of that other stuff is all coming back to you using yourself as an experiment and then tracking data before, enter, and post.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
more data you have, the better. There's no like, not yet. There's no like magic recipe to fix these things.
I think people just need to be honest with themselves.
Yeah, that's really important.
I mean, really.
That's really important.
Yes, because you probably see people coming in who are already in menopause too, and there's not anything to compare it to before. At least from your perspective in helping guide and counsel these people. And that's hard because, they can claim, my body used to do this and whatnot. That's why I say the earlier you can get labs to compare and contrast, the better. But I know I've seen changes in my own body going through this process, but I've also had to be very honest with myself. I mean, we've talked about that privately. I saw regression at our last strength week or the time before, and you said, well, what were you doing? And my husband said, what did you do? And I'm like, what do you mean, what did I do? I showed up, I did the things. Well, was I tracking my macros? No. Was I eating as much protein? No. Was I giving it 100% at the sessions? No. But I had to be honest with myself.
Yeah. Was external stress
owning a business.
Really wild through that stage
as
well?
Absolutely. Was I sleeping? Was I getting outside? Was it winter time? There's a lot of factors that go into that. But to blame the system is not always fair.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there we go. Don't blame the system.
Don't blame the system. Unless the system.
You're the system.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's. I don't know what else we do. We will get into another episode of peptides.
Okay.
The shot, GLPs, huge buzzwords. Yeah. Lots of stuff. They're not bad.
No.
There's just.
But they're not great.
There's some
either.
things. Yeah. They're not bad. They're not great. There's some things. There's some things along the way. Most important, I think. Hopefully that clears some air for you guys about hormones, menopause, getting blood work done, and just looking at no matter what system, if you're coming from, I've never done strength and fitness, to I've never had blood work, the combination of both and having all the data is the most valuable.
Right. I would say it would be the gold standard, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, ideally, you would have... Our businesses would share one wall, and you would just have a door.
I would love that.
revolving.
Let's work towards that.
27
There's
goals.
the door. Yeah. Goes over there.
You just go over there, get your numbers checked out, go over here, pick up some weights. Cool. Just keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You'll find your perfect little harmony of your individual self. And there, we'll all smash and crush, and everything will be great.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. We'll make it happen. Okay, there we go. How can people find you and your business?
We're on Facebook, Instagram. We're in the phone book.
As what?
Richey Wellness and Aesthetics. You can even find me on my personal page, Tiffany Richey. Our phone number?
I guess so.
405-608-4430.
Call. Schedule appointment.
Scheduled appointment.
Get stuck with a needle. Get your numbers. That's
I
it.
love it.
Okay. See you guys.